Volume 1, Book 3, number 113. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. There is none among the companions of the Prophet who has narrated more hadiths than I except Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As, who used to write them, and I never did the same. Volume 1, Book 3, number 114. Narrated by Ubaydullah bin Abdullah. Ibn Abbas said, when the ailment of the Prophet became worse, he said, "Bring for me writing paper, and I will write for you a statement after which you will not go astray." But Umar said, "The Prophet is seriously ill, and we have got Allah's book with us, and that is sufficient for us." But the companions of the Prophet differed about this, and there was a hue and cry. On that the Prophet said to them, "Go away, and leave me alone. It is not right that you should quarrel in front of me." Ibn Abbas came out saying, "It was most unfortunate, a great disaster, that Allah's apostle was prevented from writing that statement for them because of their disagreement and noise." Note: it is apparent from this hadith that Ibn Abbas had witnessed the event and came out saying this statement. The truth is not so, for Ibn Abbas used to say this statement on narrating the hadith, and he had not witnessed the event personally. See Fath al-Bari Volume 1, p.220 footnote. See Hadith number 228, Volume 4. Volume 1, Book 3, number 115. Narrated by Salama. One night Allah's apostle got up and said, "Subhanallah. How many afflictions have been descended tonight, and how many treasures have been disclosed. Go and wake the sleeping lady occupants of these dwellings, his wives, up, for prayers. A well-dressed soul in this world may be naked in the hereafter." Volume 1, Book 3, number 116. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. Once the Prophet led us in the Isha prayer during the last days of his life, and after finishing it, the prayer, with Taslim, he said, "Do you realize the importance of this night? Nobody present on the surface of the earth tonight will be living after the completion of 100 years from this night." Volume 1, Book 3, number 117. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. I stayed overnight in the house of my aunt Maimuna bint al-Harith, the wife of the Prophet, while the Prophet was there with her during her night turn. The Prophet offered the Isha prayer in the mosque, returned home, and after having prayed 4 rakat, he slept. Later on he got up at night and then asked whether the boy, or he used a similar word, had slept. Then he got up for the prayer, and I stood up by his left side, but he made me stand to his right and offered 5 rakat followed by 2 more rakat. Then he slept and I heard him snoring, and then, after a while, he left for the Fajr prayer. Volume 1, Book 3, number 118. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. People say that I have narrated many hadiths, the Prophet's narrations. Had it not been for 2 verses in the Quran, I would not have narrated a single hadith, and the verses are, "Verily those who conceal the clear sign and the guidance which we have sent down, up to, most merciful, 2 to 159-160. And no doubt our Muhajir, emigrant, brothers used to be busy in the market with their business, bargains, and our Ansari brothers used to be busy with their property, agriculture. But I, Abu Hurairah, used to stick to Allah's apostle, contented with what will fill my stomach, and I used to attend that which they used not to attend, and I used to memorize that which they used not to memorize." Volume 1, Book 3, number 119. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. I said to Allah's apostle, "I hear many narrations, hadiths, from you, but I forget them." Allah's apostle said, "Spread your reader garment." I did accordingly, and then he moved his hands as if filling them with something, and emptied them in my reader, and then said, Take and wrap this sheet over your body. I did it, and after that I never forgot anything. Volume 1, Book 3, number 120. Narrated by Ibrahim bin al-Mundhir. Ibn Abi Fudayk narrated the same as above, Hadith. .119. But added that the Prophet had moved his hands as if filling them with something, and then he emptied them in the reader of Abu Hurairah. Volume 1, Book 3, number 121. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. I have memorized two kinds of knowledge from Allah's Apostle. I have propagated one of them to you, and if I propagated the second, then my pharynx, throat, would be cut, i.e. killed. Volume 1, Book 3, number 122. Narrated by Jarrah. The Prophet said to me during Hajjat al-Wida, "Let the people keep quiet and listen." Then he said, addressing the people, "Do not become infidels. Revert to disbelief after me by striking the necks, cutting the throats of one another, killing each other." Volume 1, Book 3, number 123. Narrated by Said bin Jubair. I said to Ibn Abbas, Nauf al-Bukhari claims that Moses, the companion of Qadir, was not the Moses of Bani Israel, but he was another Moses. Ibn Abbas remarked that the enemy of Allah, Nauf, was a liar. Volume 1, Book 3, number 124. Narrated by Ubay bin Kabi. The Prophet said, once the Prophet Moses stood up and addressed Bani Israel. He was asked, "Who is the most learned man amongst the people?" He said, "I am the most learned." Allah admonished Moses as he did not attribute absolute knowledge to him, Allah. So Allah inspired to him, at the junction of the two seas, "There is a slave amongst my slaves who is more learned than you." Moses said, "O my Lord, how can I meet him?" Allah said, "Take a fish in a large basket, and proceed, and you will find him at the place where you will lose the fish." So Moses set out along with his servant, boy, Yusha bin Nun, and carried a fish in a large basket till they reached a rock, where they laid their heads, i.e. lay down, and slept. The fish came out of the basket and it took its way into the sea as in a tunnel. So it was an amazing thing for both Moses and his servant, boy. They proceeded for the rest of that night and the following day. When the day broke, Moses said to his servant, boy, "Bring us our early meal. No doubt, we have suffered much fatigue in this journey." Moses did not get tired till he passed the place about which he was told. There the servant, boy, told Moses, "Do you remember when we betook ourselves to the rock? I indeed forgot the fish." Moses remarked, "That is what we have been seeking." So they went back retracing their footsteps, till they reached the rock. There they saw a man covered with a garment, or covering himself with his own garment. Moses greeted him. Al-Qadir replied saying, "How do people greet each other in your land?" Moses said, "I am Moses." He asked, "The Moses of Bani Israel?" Moses replied in the affirmative and added, "May I follow you so that you teach me of that knowledge which you have been taught?" Al-Qadir replied, "Verily, you will not be able to remain patient with me, O Moses. I have some of the knowledge of Allah which he has taught me and which you do not know, while you have some knowledge which Allah has taught you which I do not know." Moses said, "Allah willing, you will find me patient and I will not disobey you in aught." So both of them set out walking along the seashore, as they did not have a boat. In the meantime a boat passed by them and they requested the crew of the boat to take them on board. The crew recognized Al-Qadir and took them on board without fare. Then a sparrow came and stood on the edge of the boat and dipped its beak once or twice in the sea. Al-Qadir said, "O Moses, my knowledge and your knowledge have not decreased Allah's knowledge except as much as this sparrow has decreased the water of the sea with its beak." Al-Qadir went to one of the planks of the boat and plucked it out. Moses said, These people gave us a free lift, but you have broken their boat and scuttled it so as to drown its people." Al-Qadir replied, "Didn't I tell you that you will not be able to remain patient with me?" Moses said, "Call me not to account for what I forgot." The first excuse of Moses was that he had forgotten. Then they proceeded further and found a boy playing with other boys. Al-Qadir took hold of the boy's head from the top and plucked it out with his hands, i.e. killed him. Moses said, "Have you killed an innocent soul who has killed none?" Al-Qadir replied, "Did I not tell you that you cannot remain patient with me?" Then they both proceeded till when they came to the people of a town, they asked them for food, but they refused to entertain them. Then they found there a wall on the point of collapsing. Al-Qadir repaired it with his own hands. Moses said, "If you had wished, surely you could have taken wages for it." Al-Qadir replied, "This is the parting between you and me." The Prophet added, "May Allah be merciful to Moses. Would that he could have been more patient to learn more about his story with Al-Qadir."